This is Michael Dermer from The Lonely Entrepreneur. Welcome to our podcast series called Perspectives. These days, passion, grit, and a good idea is not enough. Success requires you to become a better entrepreneur each and every day. The question is, how do you do that? And to do it in the face of the one issue we all face as entrepreneurs, the struggle. Our podcast series brings you interviews with unique personalities who share their insights on how they overcame the struggle to become leaders in their field. To get a free daily perspective to help you be a better entrepreneur, visit us at lonelyentrepreneur.com. We hope you enjoy this episode. This is Michael Dermer from The Lonely Entrepreneur, and I'm thrilled to have with me today Garnett Strother, who is one of the most sought-after fitness and personal trainers here in New York City. Garnett's journey is an amazing one, where he lifted himself up from the Lower East Side, where he saw friends and family dealing and doing drugs and going to jail, and having a daughter at age 17, finding himself on welfare at a very young age, only to pull himself up despite all those odds to become one of the most elite fitness trainers here in New York City. I hope you enjoy our interview with Garnett. Hey, it's Michael Dermer from The Lonely Entrepreneur, and we're thrilled to be here today with Garnett Strother, who is the founder of an incredibly innovative and cool fitness studio here in New York City, and also one of the self-made entrepreneurs as part of the Steve Madden self-made program. So welcome, Garnett.
Thank you very much. What's going on, everybody?
We're going to talk a little bit about your fitness business, but really what I want to talk about more than that is kind of just a little bit about your background. It's really an incredible story. You and I have talked about it before. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about growing up in the streets of New York.
Sounds so dramatic. I grew up in this. At some point you had to interact with your surroundings. I feel like back then things were a little bit more raw growing up here. But I grew up with a single-parent household. My mom worked a lot. She had to raise 3 kids. So I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house. And my grandmother was just a real, tough but kind lady. So she'd let anybody off the street come, stay at the crib. So I had, a lot of really good street education by people that came in and out of the house. So there'd be 10 and 15 people there at a time. Me and my brother slept on the floor. And we didn't know that we were necessarily poor, but we knew that, we had to fight for everything we got. So that mentality kind of kept with me throughout my life. And because of that, I'm where I am today,
So where did you grow up in the city?
I'm born and raised in the Lower East Side. Hell yeah, stand up. It's really good.
And what was it like in the Lower East Side? I mean, now we know it today to be cool, innovative, new restaurants, new bars. What was it like back in the day?
Well, it was a lot of drugs, man. There was a lot of drugs happening. Both my parents were addicts during the time I was born. And it was hard for them to really, they were still figuring each other out and figuring things out for themselves. So they split. My mom struggled with addiction for a while and while raising us at the same time. And that was the story of pretty much everyone on the Lower East Side. All of my friends, parents, all the people you interacted with were either, recovering drug addicts, knew someone who was a drug addict, or drug addicts themselves. So, it was really intense. It was really violent. It was a lot. It was a lot to deal with. A lot of people that I grew up with didn't make it out. A lot of folks I grew up with were either dead in jail or, struggling with their own addictions or something like that.
So now looking back on the fact that you did make it out, what do you think that the keys were about why you did?
Staying focused and prioritizing the things that really mattered as opposed to following what other people were doing. You just got to follow. You got to follow your own lead. You got to do your own thing. And in order to make money or be successful in any capacity, you're going to have to make a choice. That you have to make a choice of who you surround yourself with, and whether or not that what you want to do is something that you really, really want to do.
And did you have any mentors? I mean, you talked a little bit about your parents, but do you have any folks that kind of helped you along the way?
100%. There are 3 major people. I think 4. There are 4 major people that really helped me out. One was a school teacher from junior high school. He convinced me to drop out of high school because I had my daughter when I was 17, and he thought that it would be a good idea for me to just start making money off the bat.
Wow, so you had somebody who was a teacher, who encouraged you to drop out of high school.
Damn good teacher too. He specialized in what I did in my early days in training people, was like just teaching kids how, like teaching the worst kids, the kids that nobody wanted to mess with. It was my last leg. It was a special program for kids that were like, I've been in every school below 33rd Street at the time. I've been kicked out of every school for whatever, and he took us in and was like, listen, you have a choice, and taught me critical thinking. He's actually Gerard Trifford is his name. He was at the time working on the biggest environmental case in the country. It was like $8 billion at the time. And he was, in his spare time while working on that case, he would teach kids like myself in school how the system works and how exactly things go on. But he really set me on the path of doing that.
Wow, amazing. So you actually have a high school teacher encouraged you at age 17. So you had your daughter at 17.
I had my daughter at 17, so this is like I was 16. He told me to drop out.
So this is big boys and girls stuff, right? So this
immediately.
is
Yeah.
So you're talking about the whole background of you growing up and all your friends doing drugs. Would you play any sports?
Yeah, man. Basketball was everything growing up, man.
Yeah.
Allen Iverson was a huge influence on me because he did his things. He did things his own way. At the time, the league wasn't feeling how he was dressing, how he was looking, his tattoos. Now it's like everybody looks like Allen Iverson. But back then, AI was a trendsetter, man. He just really spoke to me. He was the smallest guy on the court, dominated every time he played with every ounce of his being, and put everything he had into everything, and he did. And it just spoke to me. And
they've been talking about him a lot because of
his birthday yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his birthday.
Well, also because Isaiah Thomas up in Boston, being such a small guy and having such a big impact on the game.
Right.
It's really a shame that the Knicks are so bad when you have a city like New York that's supposed to be like the center of hoops, right?
Don't even mention that. But man. I mean, I've always been a fan of individuals anyway. I never liked teams. I'm a LeBron James fan. I was an Allen Iverson fan. I'm a fan of how they were able to influence the game and the culture themselves. Yep. LeBron is amazing because he was able to influence the entire game. Because when he leave a team, it's like the energy of that place just left with him. Yeah. He's he's the biggest figure in basketball history. I mean, I know Mike, did a lot of things for promotion, and he did a lot of things for the current state of basketball, but LeBron really is the greatest of all time. You know what I mean?
People would never have seen a big man of his size pass the ball the way he does, defend the way he does, do all the things. So he really has changed the game.
Absolutely. I mean, just specifically, think about his skill sets on a graph, right?
Right.
There's nobody that does that, right?
Nobody.
And that's kind of how I wanted my training to be.
Yep.
I wanted my training to be exactly like that. I want to be so well-rounded that you couldn't deny me that opportunity to train you or to facilitate your change in your life because you see what I can produce in all aspects of the game.
So I'm sure we could sit around and bitch about the Knicks and the NBA all day long.
For sure.
But tell me a little bit about the transition. So you're 17-year-old.
Yep.
You got all your friends struggling, doing drugs.
They just discovered drugs.
Yep.
17, they just discovered drinking and smoking and oh, wait, I can escape my problems now?
Yep.
Before we were all these kung fu karate nerds just hanging out in the park doing, kicks and stuff.
Yep.
And then they started dabbling a little bit. Nothing hard. Nobody ever did hard drugs, but they would start experimenting with drinking.
Yep.
And just drinking or overeating and just not living a healthy lifestyle.
And they were also at that time doing it to survive, right? They were also doing it to make money, and it was their hustle, right?
Yeah. I mean, these guys were we will hustle other ways. My friends were so secretive and shady that we never knew what the other dude was doing for money. We never talked about it.
Yeah.
We just I gotta see y'all later. What are you doing later on? I got something to take care of.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. I actually met them scalping tickets for the mob. The mob used to show up in St. Mark's and just scout kids and be hey, listen, you want to make a couple $100 or whatever? We'd be like, fuck yeah, you want to make a couple $100?
Yeah,
so we go to the Madonna, show or whatever, sit online for 2 days, get tickets, and that's how the scalping tickets thing. Now it's like a business now. It's like a legitimate business.
Yeah.
Sitting in line for people.
Back then, you used to be real scalping on the streets.
Real scalping on the streets.
So so obviously you grow up in this environment. You've had the challenges with your parents. You have a daughter when you're 17, right? tell me, you obviously had this influence in the high school teacher, the lawyer. Tell me about your own thought process at that point, because the success you've had now is amazing given that background. Tell us a little bit what was going on with you and how you actually pulled yourself out of that.
I just had to. At the time, my daughter was taken away from me. My daughter's mom was convinced by her mom that it would be the best idea to just vanish. Yep. So she just took my daughter. I didn't know where she was. I was searching for her for about a year and a half. And in that time, I kind of, had to reevaluate my identity. So I started getting really, really serious with martial arts. I started reading everything Bruce Lee ever written. I started reading the Hagakure. I started reading Book of Five Rings and Art of War and just anything. I would just sit in Barnes and Nobles for 8 hours a day and just read everything. Yeah. And then I'd practice everything that I learned martial arts wise at the boys club. So then I was just on this journey of self-discovery at the time that it just changed who I am. And then after a while, you start feeling that loneliness because now everybody's doing one thing. And, everybody likes karate, but not everybody wants to do karate every day like you do. So now you're there by yourself in the park, stretching, working out. And I still go to the same park.
What park is it?
Tompkins Square Park.
Sure.
So I still go to the same park and work out and practice and do pad work. And there's another guy. His name was Moses Manigault. He was a personal trainer who worked for Asphalt Green. He used to come down to the park and let the kids hit pads and stuff like that. So that was my first introduction to giving back to the community. Was this guy? His uncle was a famous basketball player from New York. This guy Earl Mangold. He used to snatching quarters off the top of the backboard.
Yeah, you hear the stories.
Yeah. He's
West 4th Street, right?
Yep, West 4th Street, dog. Yeah, dunked the ball 2 times.
Yeah.
That was his uncle.
Yeah.
So he was incredible.
People forget what West 4th Street used to be.
Yeah.
Now it's like a tourist attraction.
Right. Now people come by and just check out the hot, black guys and whatnot. But
right.
Now, back in the day, it was it was a cage. It was a cage fighting for basketball.
Right. And big boys and girls stuff.
Yeah. Right across the street from me was exactly the same atmosphere. It was a giant cage.
Yeah.
So that's where I grew up. I grew up playing basketball 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And just, my family's very competitive. So they were very athletic and I was very sick.
Yeah.
So it was just a natural progression to martial arts. You hear about these fantastic stories about people making themselves from nothing to something.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm asthmatic. And I've been in and out of the hospital most of my life as a child. So the only way that I'm going to be able to change that is if I take my destiny in my own hands.
Do you think it was what was going on around you, having your daughter? Was there something that really clicked in how, it's like the entrepreneur when they have the idea.
Right.
It becomes like oxygen to them. They can't live without it. Was there some one event, or was it all coming together at the same time?
Nah, man, that shit was terrible. It was like all your alarm systems going off at the same, red alert, just screaming in your head. Because at the time, I wasn't in a good place with my mom. My mom kicked me out. I was kind of and my grandmother's house was a halfway house, ex-cons and whoever needed a place to stay was there.
Yep.
It was
And where was that?
Right across the street from my mom's place.
Where was that in the city?
On the Lower East Side still. I'm still in LES. So I'm either I deal with my mom's, static every day, which was detrimental to my mental health.
Yeah.
She wasn't very supportive in that time. So it was what am I going to do? My dad was out of the picture, forget it. So I went up to the Bronx and hung out with my cousins. And I just kind of sleeping on the couch for a little bit and bouncing back and forth from my grandmother's to there. So I was just homeless for a while, just with no possessions whatsoever. And then I just figured out that, you know what? I love this, and I have nothing else. So I need to concentrate my efforts on martial arts and somehow make money. I need to somehow figure out how to do this. And and then once I do master myself, and I do understand how to get myself from a dire situation to a better situation, then I'll charge people to learn how to do that.
So when you're having all these thoughts, when does it first start to think of it as a business? How old were you at the time?
I mean, immediately. I needed to make money ASAP. So I was like, okay, that's great. I'm doing karate and all that, but how am I going to feed my family? I don't know who my daughter is at the time. I don't know where she was. So I was like, I have to prepare a life for her when I finally do get her back in my life. So 2 years later, she came back in the middle of me kind of getting discouraged and feeling down. And then she just kind of showed up. Her sister, my daughter's mom's sister, her aunt, calls me and is like, yo, she wants to get back in your life. what do we do? And I'm like, yo, just move back into my mom's. I explained the situation to my mom. My mom let everybody, stay there. And that was, for 5 months, that's what was happening. That's what we did, And then it kind of, everything else took a back burner. I got a regular job. It was awful. I hated it.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was. I worked for Davis and Warshaw. I was the worst. I was like I couldn't memorize. I had to memorize thousands of pipe fittings and shit. It was awful. I had to wake up like 4:30 in the morning to go all the way to Hell's Kitchen and lift 10-foot, 10-inch wide pipes and throw them in a truck for 9-10 hours a day.
Yep.
Then go home and be a dad to a kid that didn't even recognize me because she's been gone for 2 years, right?
Yeah,
so she it's like I have to establish this relationship with her, and she's like, "Who the hell is this dude?" You know what I'm saying?
And by the way,
hard,
I know. By the way, you're 20.
I'm 19.
Yeah.
I'm 19 years old, so I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with myself? Like, no support. It was just my imagination,
Yeah.
So it was just like, all right, well, this is what it is for right now. And then the battles just changed over time. Like 5 months of that, she vanishes again, takes my daughter. I get into it with my mom. I'm out in the street again. My job fires me again.
Yep.
So, it's just a lot of making the same mistakes over and over again until I learned, like, okay, to set up things to think ahead of the game. So I read a few books on how to do that, and it changed my perspective on how things work and how to treat people and having a long-term perspective on things. So
Yep.
that was it.
So then it's an amazing story, by the way. You talk about it like it's nothing, right? Most people, this is in the context of entrepreneurism, right? Most people say, I graduated from Northwestern, or
I have no idea.
And it's really hard to start a company because you're talking about like life, survival, family, kids taken away, all that stuff. It's amazing. So when did it start to click and get a little bit of traction?
Yeah, because I'm bumming everybody out right now.
Yeah.
This is really
no.
sad,
It's real, man.
It was hard for a long time.
Yeah, because nobody will look at you now and say it's hard. Right, because you got your shit together, right? You see the success that you're having, right? They look at you, a guy that's in shape in New York City, living the dream, and they don't get this, right? Okay. They don't get where it comes from. So,
well, let me tell you, every day is a struggle with that past identity. I still live in the same place, so I see all these same people.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly reminded of where I came from. I don't live in a different neighborhood. I live in the same neighborhood that I grew up in. I live in the same apartment. It got renovated because there was a huge fire that destroyed everything, but we had to live there during that fire, that time, you know what I mean? Like during the time where they were repairing things, and me and my brother and my daughter were living up in like a 1-bedroom apartment for a while, not too long ago. So there is no smooth transition.
Yeah.
Right? I'm in a place now where I can plan and execute, and which is why things are happening so quickly because I have minimal distractions.
Yep.
But that's only because I set up my life that way.
Yeah.
I had to because I had to focus on so many different things at one time that I didn't have the opportunity to be like, okay, let me just concentrate on this one task. I never had that opportunity. I still don't. Every day I'm thinking about my daughter. Every day I'm thinking about if I'm a good dad. Every day I'm thinking about if I'm a good trainer and how can I improve my skills. You can't – in life you just have to constantly progress your skill sets or else you're going to get left behind regardless of – anything, your relationships, right?
Yep.
If you're not a better husband or a better boyfriend, you're not constantly trying to be better for that person, they're going to walk, or they should walk, because they deserve something better, right? So, I mean, luckily, I have I'm with my fiance now. She's in the same mindset. She's constantly making improvements on herself. She's a self-help book author. Her name is Skylar Darling. I'm incredibly in love with her, and we make each other better. So when
it's amazing and have that perspective. When did you start to see your fitness business start to get some traction and you really thought that this would be your career?
Okay, so let's back up a little bit, just a tiny bit. I met an instructor. His name was Shidoshi Nathan Ingram, and he was a Lower East Side legend. This guy used to beat up drug dealers with his bare hands and shit, and dump their drugs in the toilet. There's a whole bunch of legends about this dude, and he was like a real life Black Belt Jones, with karate. He had like a karate gang of kids. It was crazy back in the '80s. He had shit on lock back in the projects at Smith by South Street Seaport, and he was just a huge influence on me and the community as well.
Yeah.
He did a lot of rape prevention programs and stuff like that. So he taught martial arts for free for over 20 years.
Wow.
He's taught over, I think, 15,000 people.
Yeah.
You know, he's one of the best instructors ever. He laid the foundation for my ideology. Him and Bruce Lee have laid the foundation for my ideology for combat. Mm-hmm. You know, just find the most efficient thing, refine it, and don't be attached to techniques. And you have to be like that way in life. You know, shit's going to get thrown at you all the time. Yep. And you got to adapt. So he really changed my life. Without him, I would not be here right now, hands down. Him teaching me the things that he taught me got me in my first personal training job. I had to audition in front of someone to teach. Yep. I had to show some self-defense. I had to teach boxing, and I had to teach some jiu-jitsu, some Japanese jiu-jitsu, and without his skill set, I would not be here. Yeah, hands down. 100%.
So you get a little bit of that foundation from him.
A lot of that's from him. He's a fantastic man. I really gotta give a lot to him. But the personal training stuff is all Rich Beretta and Stu Rosenstein. These two guys are monsters. Beretta basically created the personal training business. Yep. He is the entrepreneur when it comes to personal training. Yep. He's one of the first people to turn this into a legitimate business 30 years ago. So he was if there was a personal training Mount Rushmore, he'd be George Washington for sure. And Stu he met Beretta back in the day during this bodybuilding days. Yep. And he's just Stu actually has a background in martial arts too. He's taught a lot of the legends. His dad taught a lot of legends from back in the day. So we clicked immediately. Yep. So there was a very yin and yang approach when I first started. It was about 8 years ago at Beretta's studio. And Beretta was very hard back then. I loved it. That's all I understood. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? All my instructors, the people that took me under their wing were the hardest dudes, period, right? So Beretta was very rough at the time. Yeah. And I was just I get it. This is what time it is, yo. Yeah. And, I just connected with him that way. And then Stu was the complete opposite. He was so smooth, but he never talked. He's a good salesman, but he never spoke any bullshit. Yep. He never lied to people. Yep. You know what I'm saying? He believed in his product because he knew that he had the best product there was, and that was Beretta. Yep. He knew that nobody could fuck with Beretta, and it doesn't matter what you tell him because we're going to show you. It doesn't matter what your problems are. It doesn't matter what it is. He knew that you couldn't mess with our product. So he just believed in himself, and he's been doing it for so long, and he's really good at getting people to trust him. Yep. So because he never bullshitted people. He made a mistake, he'd admit it, and that would often be his advice to me when I made mistakes. Yeah. Just be like, yo, you fucked up. Just tell your clients, yo, I'm late because X, Y, and Z. Let's move on. How can I make it up to you? Yep. Let's move on. Yep. Something simple like that. You don't got to try to patch it up and nothing like that. But those two guys are the foundation of where I built my business from.
So those guys give you this foundation, and you start to think about your own studio at this point?
No, I don't. I still don't have my own studio. I still operate out of Beretta's studio.
Yep. Oh, gotcha.
Right. But the thing is, we're all independent contractors there, so we all are in charge of our own business. Yep. So everyone there runs their business differently. Mm-hmm. Some people, kind of wait for Beretta to give them clients. Some people are a little bit more proactive. Some people have a little, happenstance. Yeah. They kind of, have a conversation. All of a sudden, they get someone. Yeah. But I needed to be more proactive because I need to be. One of the top guys there, one of my colleagues, Mike Maloney, has been doing this almost as long. He found Beretta before I did. Yeah. So we had time to cultivate his stuff, and he was with Beretta in a time where Beretta was just training all these celebrities, and he had all these big dogs in the city and real estate guys. Yeah. So he came in at the right time to learn with him. Yeah. I came in after that. Yeah. I came in from the fall, I would say, because Beretta got escorted out of his gym, his previous gym before, and then created Hell on Earth, which is basically the RBPT studio. Yeah. All the fallen angels accumulated there. So it was
Is he still active in the business?
Beretta? Yeah. He's training this morning. He's going to train until he dies. Yeah. And that's the idea. He loves training. He's the best at the business because he loves what he does. He would be doing, if he said he wasn't doing this, he'd probably be rescuing dogs or something like that. Yep. We always have a dog in the studio. One of my colleagues, Mike Maloney, has been with him for a long time, and I've noticed that he curated his business in a specific direction. Mm-hmm. right? I feel like all trainers curate their business and have say over who they train.
Yep.
Most trainers act like they're like, oh, I got this client. Oh, he's just a pain in the ass. I just can't deal with him.
Yep.
Then, my advice would be just ditch him.
Yep.
Because you'll be better off for him. Maybe you guys don't, I realized really early in the game, hedge fund dudes, typical hedge fund dudes,
Yep.
not my people.
Yep.
Not my people. We got nothing to talk about. I don't give a shit about what model you slayed last night. I don't care.
Yep.
I don't care. That's cool. I don't care about your political agenda.
Yep.
Because I'm pretty sure it doesn't coincide with mine.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And if you're not open to a different worldview perspective,
Yep.
and an exchange, then we definitely have nothing to talk about.
Yep.
Because I'm all for looking. I have friends that are Republicans, and I have friends that are Trump supporters. I have friends that all over the place. But we meet in the middle, and we respect what we do.
Yep.
And that's what I need in a client. And if your clients are kind of like, not where you want, don't make you better, then you need to step off and go somewhere else. You need to find someone else to work with. And that's huge for your business.
So, entrepreneurs talk about in a competitive world, and obviously it's competitive in the training world, having this thing that makes them really stand out from the crowd. We've had a bunch of different life experiences and people, right, that have shaped your views.
Right.
How would you describe your kind of unique approach to what you're doing? Because it's unique. I've looked at it. We've shared. You've told me a little bit about it. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy, about how you go about it.
Well, I feel like everyone is either entering a crisis, just left a crisis, or in a crisis right now, right? So my job is to help people navigate that situation, wherever they're at.
Yep.
There's always going to be an excuse to not do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And my job is to eliminate as many distractions as possible for you in your life. Mm-hmm. And then you can find, that's why I'm successful as a personal trainer. That's why I find results, because I help people navigate that field if they want to.
Yep.
They have to make that choice.
Yep.
Some people want to just work out. I may not be the trainer for you.
Yep.
You're going to get in shape. You're going to change your body. Fantastic. So many people come see me, I change their body forever, and then they're still unhappy, and then they quit.
Yep.
And then now they've lost the catalyst of their change in their life. They didn't put two and two together quick enough. But if they're listening to most of the things that we talk about and able to connect the dots, then they're able to make that transition and change their life.
Yep. So this is really much more about life than it is about training.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I'm just wearing the hat of a trainer, really. I'm trying to facilitate greatness of everyone that I meet.
Yeah.
I want everyone to meet their maximum potential. Mm-hmm. Everyone.
Yeah.
That's my goal. If I can create, my job as a personal trainer is to facilitate a change in someone's life that they'll never forget. I'm the catalyst of the change, that positive change that gives them the confidence to do the things that they're afraid of.
Yep.
And that's a huge responsibility, and I take that very seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I'm not successful, the pounds and the scale don't make a difference to me. If I'm not successful in creating that change for my clients that they're looking for, then I need to readjust everything. I need to be able to communicate to my clients. I need to be able to connect with them in a way that they understand that we're in this together.
Yep.
And that's my philosophy. My philosophy is that you can have anything you want, and I can help you get that thing that you want. But it's most likely it's probably not the thing that you think you want.
Right. They come for one thing and they're really there for another.
Oh yeah, for sure. If I have a typical conversation, what are you here for? What do you want? What do you want to change about your body? And I'm like. And then they're like, well, I want to lose this, I want to do that. I'm like, why? And then you're like, okay, well, I feel like I look better in clothes looking this way. I've never done this. I'm like, why is that important? Just two whys, and we're at the core. Oh, because my mom made fun of my thighs, and it made me insecure.
Well, you ever heard the Chinese technique, the 7 whys, right? Like if you really want to get to the bottom of something, just keep asking why 7 times, and you'll eventually get there. Sounds like you get there after 2.
Yeah, I try to cut it time. We got like an hour, man. We don't have that much time, so we got to get to 3. But yeah, usually I'm really good at listening to what people are really telling me.
Yep.
And when they tell me, oh, I want to get in shape for a wedding, I know that you want to get in shape for your wedding photos.
Right.
You want to get in shape for that experience. You want to feel amazing. But they have to understand that the process is is the real journey. The process there, being aware of your mindset as you're making those changes is huge.
Yep.
That's the only way you're going to make change in your life and in your body.
Yep.
You have to be aware of what's happening. Why do I feel so irritable today? Oh, wait, I didn't. Sometimes we just ignore the stuff that really makes or breaks our day.
Right.
You know? You got to pay attention. You got to pay attention to those little things. I have a very dry skin. If I'm not moisturized,
Yep.
I'm irritable. Cause I don't even realize it. I'm just like, yo, just don't talk to me today, man.
Yep.
Oh shit, I didn't moisturize today. So now I feel like a fucking bag of sand.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I'm a crabby today.
Yeah.
Or some people are just a little hungry.
Well, it sounds like it's an amazing learning experience, right? From the minute they walk in there, and certainly part of it's about physical activity and fitness, but it sounds like a lot more of it's about soul.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just about self-discovery.
Yeah.
My whole ideology behind training is to discover yourself. You have to master yourself, and that is a scary thing for some people because most people don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
But you begin at the weakest place, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, thanks for your time. I want a couple of questions I wanted to ask you before we finish up. First, you look at the entrepreneurial journey, right?
Right.
And for you, not really an entrepreneurial journey, but a life journey, right? And,
That's it. Yeah.
When you look back, what do you think was the loneliest day and the happiest day?
Right. I think the loneliest day was when I had to reapply for welfare.
How old were you?
I was probably I was like 19 or I was like 20 or 21.
Yeah.
I started training personal training when I was like 22.
Yeah.
So I was probably like 21. It's right before I got another job. I was in between jobs at the time. I was in this non-profit organization that helped ex-cons. It specialized in getting ex-cons jobs, which is great. It's called Strive. I highly recommend it if you're in a tough spot and you can't get work. They guarantee lifetime employment there.
Wow.
So I went there. It's a month-long process.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, I didn't have enough money to get uptown to go to Strive.
Yep.
They were like, listen, you got to figure it out.
Yep.
You got to figure it out.
Yep.
That's what you got to do. Because all the staff that works at Strive has also been there.
Yeah.
So a lot of my teaching style comes from that experience as well.
Yeah.
Like you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
I got you hire me as a trainer. I'm top dollar. I'm extremely expensive. I'm still not going to hold your hand.
Yep.
Once I give you the tools and then I give them to you again and then I give them to you a third time and you're still not using them, we got a problem.
Yep.
We got a problem, and it's bigger than anything I can do.
Yep.
You need to look at yourself. It's another thing that Stu taught me.
So you're whatever it was, 19, 20, 21, and you've got to go back and reapply, and obviously, for welfare, and those are experiences as well, remember.
Bro, they put you through the ringer, man. It was so humiliating and self-deprecating. It was just like you walk into the office, and they treat you like a number, like you don't exist. You're there with like a mixed bag of like truly sick people. So then you're there, and then people that are just trying to, like maybe two people that are trying to get over in the system.
Yep.
Or maybe you think they are. You don't know what their fucking story is. They probably mentally ill. You don't even know.
Yep.
You're sitting there online, and you're just waiting to ask the government to help you. It's like my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, I'm just like online, waiting for my number to be called. They're looking at me like, what's wrong with you? I'm just like, I don't have any skills or resources. Like, what do you want me to tell you? Like, I don't know where to go. Like, I'm not, my friends didn't, go to college and then figure out things. A lot of my colleagues, their friends are finance guys.
Yeah.
So they help them with their training business because they're finance guys and they get a system in that.
Yeah.
My friends are dead. My friends are, I'm the only one. I'm the only one. So it was a little frustrating at that point. But the happiest day, were you going to ask me the happiest day?
Yeah, absolutely.
The happiest day, man, hasn't happened yet because I'm going on vacation next week. Hasn't happened yet.
But you did tell me a story one time about buying clothes for your daughter.
Yes, that last year I was able to just like drop a G on my daughter just like on a whim. Like she was going to the first day of high school and I just wanted to have the freshest shit. Like whatever. I was like, yo, doesn't matter. I don't go with that outfit. Just get that over there too. Whatever. Just get it. And we walked out of me, my girlfriend, and my daughters walked out with a ton of shit, and just like that was just like week one. Like we didn't. That wasn't even like the complete shopping day. That was, you know what I'm saying, for the year. And I just love being able to do stuff like that because she'll never ask for anything. My daughter will never ask for anything.
Yeah.
You know, currently her mom isn't doing too great, and she's in Philly, so I'm raising my daughter on my own.
Yeah.
And it means a lot for me to be able to provide for her on my own.
Yeah.
I don't have to ask nobody for shit. My mom had to ask my dad, to help her out because she's raising 3 kids on her own. It's like, it's never going to be enough.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the stress my mom felt every single day.
Yeah.
Working at night, never seeing your kids. It's like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
Of course you're going to self-medicate. Of course you're going to look for a way out,
Yeah.
So big ups to my mom for taking care of us. You know what I'm saying? I got mad respect for my mom. She just, even though we're not in the best place right now, like I got mad respect for what she did. She's a fucking G for real.
Yeah. But that's got to be, with your daughter, it's got to be an amazing feeling to be able to provide for her and do something whimsical for her when most of your life is spent on real survival, life issues.
Right. When everything's life or death, I live on just giving her experiences. I one day, another one, she's diabetic also. She's type 1 diabetic. And one day, she's obsessed with the Cake Boss show for some reason. She was like obsessed with it when she was a kid. And I was like, so I take her to the show. I take her to the restaurant in Hoboken.
Yeah.
So I'm taking her there. We're on the train, on the PAP train. I'm like, I'm trying to throw off the scent because there's like Cake Boss shit everywhere.
Yeah.
And she's like, Cake Boss. And I'm like, I took the wrong train. She's like, what? Her blood sugar's low. And she's like, yo, what the? Come on, Dad.
Yeah.
Oh, she's tight. She's waiting on line. I got it all on video. She's waiting on line. The line's around the block.
Yeah.
I called ahead to make sure her shit was ready ahead of time so we skipped the line. But I wanted her to wait on line anyway. So we get on line, and I'm like, Liz, you know what this line's for? She goes, man, I don't know. I don't care, man. Like, whatever, dude. I said, go look around the corner. And she looks around the corner, and she looks up, and she just freezes.
Yeah.
She's like not even on this dimension anymore.
Yeah.
And that was the best times of my life. I was able to just do that. My parents would have never done shit like that for me.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's an amazing journey, Garnett, and tell us how we can find you. Tell us where we can find you and your studio, both your studio and online.
I work out of RBPT studio, and that's on 22nd and 5th Avenue. It's 1 West 22nd Street. You can find me on all social media platforms, and Strother Personal Training or Strother_PT. You can also email me. I'm on StrotherPT.com. You can email me with any fitness questions that you need, life questions, how to coordinate your business, how to facilitate the change you're looking for.
Yep. Just on a personal note, guys like me that are fortunate enough to grow up with, pretty good families and go to college and law school, and plenty of people out there that start businesses. It's really an amazing journey, and I know you probably are always thinking about the next step and the next thing, but there's a lot to be proud of, and most people would never have made it out of the Lower East Side, much less provided for a daughter, created a life for herself. So Thanks, really man. A truly inspiring story.
It ain't over yet, yo. When I make that first, when I make my first chunk of million, I'm on my way to my first million, but I want to make it at once.
We're just, you can tell, we're just in layup lines at this point. We're not even there.
We're warming up right now.
You got it. All right, man.
What I'm saying? Thanks, man. Really good to see you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Perspectives, the podcast series from The Lonely Entrepreneur. To listen to this episode, visit us at lonelyentrepreneur.com/podcasts. Our mission is to turn the passion and pressure we all feel as entrepreneurs into success. To do that, we created the Lonely Entrepreneur community to be your one place to turn to for answers. To learn more, visit us at lonelyentrepreneur.com. And thanks again for taking the time to listen to this episode of Perspectives from the Lonely Entrepreneur.